The Matrix could have been a very different film if a few actors had decided to accept a part. Jet Li might have taken the red pill and it could have completely changed one scene, Neo's fight with Seraph. I know it's been a while since The Matrix Reloaded came out, so let's jog our memories a bit. The sequel to The Matrix showed Neo in full control of his powers as the One.
Why did it take 20 years to find me?
Watching him manipulate reality and come into his own was pretty exciting since many of his foes from the last film could barely keep up with him anymore. Given he was so superpowered now, the Wachowskis had to come up with a few new characters who could measure up to him in a fight.
Oh, honestly, when somebody offered me these things, I went off on binary conceptions of the world and said that there was no way I was swallowing some symbolic reduction of my life.
Agent Smith was the obvious choice, but Neo's bout with him was mostly about introducing the clones into the mix, and that's why we ended up seeing Neo battle it out against Seraph, who exist for the sole purpose of protecting and serving the Oracle.
Steve! Can you hear me? What? I thought I lost you! Can you get us to the window, please?
It was an awesome fight sequence that gave us some of the classic kung fu of the original film, but a lot of fans might not know that the character could have been played by a certain actor with tons of martial arts experience, enter Jet Li.
Just a little crash.
Morning, Bobby. Morning, dude. What a beautiful day to be alive.
Jet Li might not be around much anymore, but he was the epitome of martial arts prowess in 2000s Hollywood. Rather than take the comedic approach of Jackie Chan, Li brought a sobriety to his roles that would have made him perfect as Seraph. It would have made a lot of sense for the Wachowskis to give him the role since they needed someone that could learn a bunch of complicated choreography and put a new spin on the action scenes. I can't think of anyone who would have been better than Li, but it might surprise you to hear he wasn't their first choice. It turns out they had a completely different idea for the character, which is why they pursued an even bigger Asian celebrity than Jet Li.
Tell you what, for all you've done for me, let me do this for you.
Seraph could have been played by Michelle Yeoh. Nope, I'm not kidding. The mysterious guardian of the Oracle might have been played by the star of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeoh's always been a big deal, but her star had only just started to rise when the Matrix sequels were being shot.
Oh, maybe I can make this easy for you. I know binary is over budget.
I know what you're thinking, isn't Seraph supposed to be male? What's with the Wachowskis wanting a woman to play him? Well, like I've already said, the Wachowskis' original vision for Seraph was pretty different from what we ended up getting.
To be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
They initially wanted Seraph to be female or at least femme-presenting, and given the street cred Michelle had gotten from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I'm not surprised they were after her.
Far from suggesting a repeat of your initial breakdown, I believe this episode demonstrates healthy self-protection.
I can only dream of what could have happened if Yeoh had actually accepted the part. Her martial arts chops might not be as strong as Li's, but she'd have brought a level of grace to the fight scenes that would have made for a totally different experience. Seraph would have joined Trinity, Niobe, and Persephone in the franchise's list of complex women who went against the grain.
So what's it like being a world-famous game designer? Must be amazing.
Unfortunately, Yeoh was a busy bee back in those days. She was such a hot item after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon that everyone wanted to sign her on for their movie.
I wanted to kick him so hard. Not too hard, maybe just hard enough.
That meant that her schedule was jam-packed, so she just couldn't find the time to squeeze The Matrix Reloaded in. And that's why the Wachowskis decided to make Seraph male and ask Li if he was up for the job.
At last.
The thing is, Li had a few concerns that made it impossible for him to take the role. The Wachowskis asked for too much. Jet Li has had a solid career, but he wasn't really in it for the money. That's not to say that he didn't make bank. Of course, the guy starred alongside the likes of Jackie Chan, Sylvester Stallone, and Jason Statham, and you don't do that without getting a hefty payday. However, when it came to The Matrix, the Wachowskis asked him to do something he just couldn't accept. According to Li, the shooting for his scenes would have lasted about 3 months, but his total contract was for 9. Those extra 6 months were for the crew to record his fighting style and store it in a digital library. That would have let them use his martial arts skills later on by teaching them to others, and that certainly wasn't something that Li was down for. Even though it would have earned him a ton of cash, the entire thing seemed pretty soulless to the Chinese legend. One thing you need to know about Li is that he really emphasizes the art in martial arts. Letting someone own his art as their intellectual property didn't sit right with the actor so much as he would have loved to be on such a huge film, he was forced to say no.
It was your great ambition to make a game that was indistinguishable from reality.
This meant the Wachowskis had to go on yet another search for someone to play Seraph, and who they found ended up making the role iconic, Colin Chow's big break.
Okay. Free my mind.
With their first and second choices both declining the role, the Wachowskis really had to scramble to find someone before it was too late. Thankfully for them, Colin Chow was more than up to the task, and the Taiwanese actor had been doing professional stunt work since he was 12 years old, and that's not the only thing that made him perfect either.
I will be caught and killed, and you will be put right back on that treadmill they designed for you, just like they did the last time you tried.
When we first see Seraph, the guy has an almost anonymous vibe. It's like he's been there sitting in that room, meditating and waiting for Neo for an eternity. I really doubt it'd have the same impact if we saw Vialet or Lee sitting on the dining table.
Might help ease you into the present.
Nothing comforts anxiety like a little nostalgia.
The whole scene would have been about the actor rather than the character, and I'm kind of glad we didn't have to put up with that distraction. It gave us a chance to lose ourselves in the scene, and Chow did an excellent job of making the character his own.
Somehow they were able to alter your DSI loop. This is how everyone else sees you.
Starring in both the Matrix sequels gave Chow his first major role, and it launched a career that is still pretty active to this day. But what about Vialet and Lee? It's been over 20 years, but they must wonder what could have been if they'd accepted it, right?
Tabebe needs that tower pin.
I got a signal.
You'll be surprised about how they feel. Lee has moved on, but you'll never guess how Vialet circled back. Both of these actors were already pretty well established when they were offered the role, but that doesn't mean their careers couldn't have done with the boost.
Maintain, but doesn't look good.
Besides, Lee hasn't really been active since the 2010s. He looked like he was having fun in The Expendables, and his turn in Mulan was a welcome comeback for the old legend, but he's never been able to reach the dizzying heights of his early career.
Let's just say more than a little crazy making. But it worked because...
As for Vialet, she's been in a mix of critically acclaimed drama films as well as the Kung Fu Panda franchise, but it's not like appearing in The Matrix could have done any harm. With Lee, he doesn't really seem all that bothered by it. He knew what he was doing when he rejected the role, so it looks like he made peace with his decision long ago. Vialet probably feels the same way, especially considering how many great films she's gotten the chance to be in since then, but it turns out that her latest and biggest role into Everything Everywhere All at Once might actually owe a bit of debt to The Matrix. The directors of the film have talked about how big of an influence The Matrix was on them, so in a way, Yao got to have her Matrix moment, and it was in a way better film that got her an Oscar nod. That was what happened with Jet Li's Matrix offer. We'll see you in the next video.